Hi everyone, welcome to episode 150. It is May 10th and 2020 and it is Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there who is a mom. So if you are celebrating Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day. If you're a grandmother or a mother to be, you have a mother. Anyways, Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to this place that we call Woolen Spinning. This is a community dedicated to all things making yarn and creating things from your hand spun yarns, whether it be spindle spun or wheel spun or any other number of things. I don't have my big lights on today because it is so bright outside and the sunlight is actually streaming in, and the light is going to change throughout the show. So we've got some shadows behind me to begin with, but I think that we're going to see them sort of subside a little bit over the next half hour, however long the show is today. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Suzanne and Laureline, Alicia, Linnea, Kelly, Erica, Allison, Crystal, Heather, Maggie, San, Judy, Glenda. It's so good to see everybody. I hope you're all well. I hope that you're doing really well. I have my coffee here. James woke us up at 5 a.m. this morning, so that is why I am so chipper. I've already been awake for 3 hours. I had a really good day at work yesterday, so I can't really complain. I was in cohort, which means I was looking after a COVID positive patient with confirmed swabs, but because we are, our numbers have been okay. I don't want to jinx anything, but our numbers are really good where I work, and which is a good sign because I work at one of the biggest hospitals in the Greater Vancouver area. I'm coming to you from just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. And we were sort of all in there, had some music going just quietly in the background. We were sitting chatting, and I wish that I could have had my knitting out, but of course, alas, I cannot. But I did, I actually was able to read a little bit. So it was really good. I don't want to jinx it, but it was a really nice shift. And I'm actually off now for 2 weeks because we had originally planned some vacation time. We were going to get out in the trailer, and obviously we've had to cancel all that. But I've got a little bit of time off coming to me, so it'll be nice. Welcome to Elizabeth and Jean and Eve. I know it's Mother's Day here in North America, but I know that it's not necessarily elsewhere. So for those who aren't celebrating Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day anyways. Today's show is absolutely jam-packed. We've got a lot of stuff that I wanted to share with you and that I wanted to show you. So we're not going to do a lot of community participation today, but we will do some. And I wanted to tell you a little teeny tiny story about an email that I received on Friday night. And it was from somebody named Will. So hi, Will, because I think you'll probably be watching this later. You made my weekend. So I get these emails every so often, and they're lovely, and they just are asking for a little bit more questions, asking for a little bit of information about the podcast usually, and sometimes they want to know a little bit about what I do, and so on and so forth. Anyways, this email came to me. It was from Will, and he had a couple of questions, so I emailed him back on Saturday on my coffee break at work yesterday, and I addressed his questions and answered him. And then he emailed me back almost right away. And sometimes when it's a guy who emails, I sort of assume, usually with women too, it's not just men, I sort of assume that it's an adult and that it's somebody that's either emailing me on behalf of themselves, or they're emailing on behalf of a spouse, or they're emailing on behalf of their mom or their dad. I get a surprising number of emails from men, asking about, when wheels that they're making or playing around with, or they're making an inquiry for their wife, or they themselves spin, or they're knitters. I do get a lot of emails from both men and women. Anyways, Will emailed me back, and he is 12. And it just made my day. And I emailed him back and I said, I'm going to tell my son about you, that there's a spinner out there. He lives in the Pacific Northwest, same as me. He's just down in Southwest Washington. And he is a spinner, and he is on spindles right now. And his parents have bought him a Spinolution Polywog. It is supposed to be delivered quite soon. So congratulations, Will. And I was just over the moon when you said that you're almost a teenager and you are spinning and you've just gotten your first wheel. So many congratulations. I hope that we see you in the wool and spinning community eventually. You would be most welcome. So congratulations, and well done, parents, for buying him a spinning wheel, because that's just phenomenal. And when I told James, he just like lit up. He's like, the boys spin on spinning wheels? And I said, yeah, he has a polywog just like we used to have, but we sold it to somebody local who's named Judy. And he was just like, really? Could we get another one? I was like, well, maybe one day. So very cool. Oh, thank you, Linnea. She said I look very pretty today. A happy mother. I have been doing a daily gratitude practice. I have been very stressed out lately. Has anybody noticed? I'm sure you have noticed. I have been feeling kind of stretched to the end of my rope recently, and I am a generally joyful person. Like, I generally exist in this place of positivity. My husband calls me a dreamer. I'm always coming off with these ideas and these random things that I think that we should do, like, you know, buying 40 acres in northern British Columbia and becoming farmers, and that would just be so cool, and wouldn't we want to do that? And then Mike will be like, but we'd have to leave our cul-de-sac. And we right, so we don't want to do that. Okay, next plan. That's kind of how I am, like, in my day-to-day life. And I think sometimes I drive my friends crazy because I'm always coming off with these grandiose ideas, and there's nothing's gonna ever come of them. Anyways, I have been reading Dan Buettner's book, The Blue Zones, his original Blue Zones book. And one of the things that is very, that comes up again and again and again is this idea of gratitude. And I journal. I write in a journal every night. And sometimes I write in the morning, sometimes I write in the evening, but I always journal. I've done so since I was 13. And so I have like all these books. I have a box full of all of my journals. And so what I've been doing actually when I've been sitting down to do my journaling is I've actually been sitting down and doing a gratitude, like a thing about gratitude first. And I've really found that it's been helping. It's just a reminder to myself that there's a lot to be thankful for, a lot. So maybe it's coming across, maybe it's showing. So in today's show today, I just wanted to remind everybody we've got our yarn substitution content. The transcript for How I Spin went out this past week. So if you're an attentive spinner or higher in the Patreon tiers, you will have access to the transcript, and the vlog will be released tomorrow or Tuesday. It's coming out in the next couple of days. We have questions, queries, and explorations coming up next Saturday. So if you are signed up for that Patreon tier, to spend an hour next weekend, next Saturday at 8:15 Pacific Daylight Time, this time but on Saturday, we will be sitting down and doing a Q&A about yarn substitution and talking about our handspun yarns and using our handspun yarns in knitting patterns and getting good results. So the first one is coming up next Saturday, and then the next one will be 2 Saturdays after that, and that's available on Patreon if you are interested. We would love for you to join us. A sock study, the How I Spin ebook and sock study, the special offer for certain Patreon tiers is still going on. You can have a look at patreon.com/WelfordPearls for that. And you can actually order a physical copy of the book if you would prefer. And there's links available in the show notes at patreon.com. And I will actually post the show notes in the chat. I always mean to, and then I never do. So that in the live chat replay, there is a link there, so to take you straight to the post with the show notes for this episode. Hi, Kelsey. Good to see you. Oh, I'm glad that your work schedule allowed you to be here. That's wonderful. Hi, Dorothy. Good to see you. Hi, Megan. How are you holding up? I've been thinking about you a lot. Joanna, good to see you. Kelly. Dagmar, it's good to see you. Lisa. Oh, Meg, that sounds amazing. She's spinning some local CVM. She's been sharing with us about her CVM that she's been spinning in the Slack channel. It looks amazing on her Lendrum outside on her deck. That's amazing. So you know what? I actually have just ordered a very fast flyer for my Lendrum. 17:1 is just really driving me crazy because I have a fast flyer for my Lendrum. And I just ordered a very fast flyer. I didn't really want to spend the money. Selfishly, we're just trying to really keep it tight right now. And because we've got some goals for some family goals for the next year. And but I said to Mike, I'm like, I need to get a very fast flyer. I also would like to get a Kromsky minstrel. So if there's anybody out there that would like to sponsor that, I'm totally just joking, but I would really like to get another minstrel. It's on my like wish list, if you will. But then I'll have it. If I get it, then I'll have it. And then what? So that's sort of what I'm keeping in the back of my mind. Community participation for April and May. The episode thread for April and May in the Ravelry group, we are asking what you love about the down and the down-like breeds. We've had some wonderful responses. James has been helping me to card up a storm with my Friesian Fleece. And I finally remembered to bring the bats upstairs and to show you. So this is what he has been helping me to do. And one of these is going to Florence, in my friend in New Zealand. And this is what the bats look like. I know they're super, super dark, but they are amazing. This fiber will not need to be dyed at all. And this is actually the fiber spun and knit up. So one of these bats will be going out to you. Florence will be getting the one for April, and then we'll send another one out for May. And what I've been doing is actually just stripping the bat into fours, into quarters. And then I have these sort of chunks of fiber here. And then I've been taking these down another half and then halving it again. And I'm just doing it very roughly. I'm not actually like, there's no rhyme or reason. And then I've been just pre-attenuating very, very gently. Downs don't need a lot of prep. And then I've been spinning. There are some shortcuts. There are some little neps and stuff. But the nice thing is they are so big that as I've been spinning, I've just been pulling them out. And just hold the single under tension against your finger. So not in the fiber. I'm showing you with the fiber right now, but you would do this with the singles. Hold it under tension over your finger. Use your fingernails to pop it out. And then Bob's your uncle, you can continue spinning. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later in the show. But I've been trying, keyword trying, to spin one of these bats every day. And so far that hasn't happened, but I did get one more skein done. Now the question is, where did I put it? I did get one more skein done this past week, and we'll talk about that later in the show because I am spinning for the Shore cardigan. So there is that. We have our Made with Love along going on in the Ravelry group. This is to lift up and honor our friend Katrina of Crafty Jaks Boutique. Her and I are going to be getting onto a Skype call this week, and we will be recording a couple of episodes actually of Wool and Spinning Radio. And I have an exciting guest coming up on Wool and Spinning Radio. We'll probably record an episode within the next couple of weeks, and I'll release that episode this summer sometime. So I'm really excited to have her on the show because she's somebody that I chat with on social media all the time and message back and forth, and we've never actually talked in real time. So I'm really excited about that. But Katrina and I are going to get on a Skype call, and we're going to be actually really recording the announcement and the background and the content for the breed and color studies, and that's going to be released in July for our next study that will run for 6 months, and it will be a carded prep. And I'm excited to let you know what the fiber is going to be because it's going to be amazing. So Made with Love is being run by our friends Rebecca and Becca, Rebby J and Becca. And Bethy 40, who actually I don't see in the chat today, but I'm sure she'll join us at some point. Hi, Marjorie. And we are, there's points. So if you bought something new from Katrina, then you get a point. If you're working with Katrina's yarn or fiber, you get a point. And if you work with Kelly G Knits, who's in the chat today, if you work with one of her patterns, you get 3 points. So a point for each of those things for a total of, you can sort of amass up to 3 points. I am using some commercial yarn, which is really unusual for me. I'm using Katrina's Be Fabulicious base. It's her 100% BFL in a one-of-a-kind colorway that she had dyed up before Knit City. I bought 2 skeins of it, and I'm doing the Anchors cardigan. So I've been really enjoying that. It's purely selfish knitting, and I've been trying to do 10 rows on the body every day, but it's kind of like the Friesian spinning. It's like, well, if it happens, it happens. And if not, that's okay too. All right. I'm just looking at the chat. I may phone the store in my local area that's a Kromsky dealer in a few months and see how much it is. Kelly, we should see if there's like a deal if we order more than one. Even, you know, because we'd both be paying shipping anyways. But I wonder if she would be interested in chatting if we're ordering more than one wheel. I'd really like a walnut one. That's sort of what I want. I had one that was an unfinished one that my dad helped me to finish. It was my first spinning wheel, and I sold it and immediately regretted it. I did not appreciate what I had when I sold that wheel. Yeah. And I'd really like to get the Distaff that goes on it. So my friend Kim has offered to lend me a Distaff temporarily right now, and I actually haven't emailed her back. I've been very remiss about that, but she I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna borrow that from her and get going with that, because I really want to do a lot more Distaff spinning, because I can sit there and spin for much longer periods of time, because all of your fiber is loaded onto the Distaff. So I found personally that it really helped with my productivity. So yeah, and I'm hoping that Eric will actually make me one that I can hold. That's kind of like the one that I showed on the podcast a few months ago. That I can load up a whole bunch of fiber and just sit here and spin off of my eSpinner. Because with the battery and the loaded Distaff, I could actually sit and spin outside while watching the kids for a very long time, which would be wonderful. I'm just looking at chat really quickly. Katrina's yarn is amazing. Tough and tender sock is awesome. So true, Megan. I'll wax poetic about tough and tender later when I talk about the Stonecrop. Oh, that's amazing. There's a famous spinner in our region who is 85 years old and spins thread weight yarn on her minstrel that looks machine spun. She's amazing. That's really cool, Megan. Very cool. Oh, thank you, Meg. I'm doing okay. I've been thinking about you too. Thank you. Oh, Kromsky released a new flyer for the Sonata that converts to double drive. Oh, interesting. Very cool, Kelly. Yeah, because the minstrel goes between Scotch and double drive and Irish. Yeah, I would really like a matchless as well, because, you know, selfishly, I want all the wheels. I think we all do. But the problem is with the matchless, well, it's kind of the same with the minstrel. They take up a certain footprint, and the minstrel's just a little bit lighter, although the new matchlesses are a lot lighter than the one that I had. I kind of just want all the things. Did you just say you plan to use the Distaff with your eSpinner? Yes. So one of the things that my friend Kim McKenna, who she blogs over at Tanis Fibre Arts, she is just a wealth of information. I consider her one of my spinning mentors. Her and my friend Diana, and yeah, they're just amazing creative spirits, and very knowledgeable. I just linked her blog in the show notes. So if you don't follow her blog, please subscribe. She basically spins all of her yarn off of Distaffs, and a lot of it has to do with being able to spin lighter, loftier yarns, not having the weight of the fiber when you're spinning. We'll talk about, you know what? Well, no, let's finish it now. So she, when you load a Distaff and you're holding it in your hand, I don't have anything right here that I can hold that would sort of mimic it. Maybe I can use the pencil. Basically, she holds it like a pencil, and she kind of, sometimes she'll cradle it in her elbow, but she holds it sort of like a pencil. And if the fiber is wrapped around the Distaff, so let me just set this up really quick, because, you know, on the podcast, we always end up going on like these side journeys. I always think of them as like little alleyways. We go on like these little side. I just loaded this up backwards, so just hang on. Okay, so what she does, And I might be totally wrong, so I might get an email from Kim in the next few weeks saying, that's not exactly what I do, but which I really appreciate. So she, one of the ways that I have actually found, so this is what I have found, is if you load your distaff sort of like this, and you just very, very lightly roll the distaff. So imagine this is a distaff and not a colored pencil, in sort of these like barber pole kind of ways. And imagine that the fiber is pre-attenuated. So she holds her distaff kind of like a pencil. And you sort of have to reimagine how you're going to draft. So I didn't pre-attenuate this because I grabbed it from my stash that's sitting right here on the desk. But basically she holds it like this. She might rest it in the cradle of her arm, or she might rest it against her shoulder, depending on how big her distaff is. And if she's on a spindle, she'll stick it under her arm, or she'll put it into her belt loop. She has a couple of belts that she wears that she wears up on her waist, and she'll throw it into her belt loop. So there's a lot of different ways. And then she literally sets herself up at her wheel, where I'm going to adjust the cameras and I will show you what I mean. So give me a sec to get started. Basically what it does, and then we'll run the intro credits and we'll get into the actual show. Basically what it means is when you're holding everything, let me just get going and then I'll adjust the cameras. Basically what it means is you're sort of taking the pressure off of holding the fiber. This is going too fast. When I moved the eSpinner, I must have adjusted the speed knob because it's like going at Mach speed, or the kids were playing with it. That's a thing right now. Okay, so let me adjust my camera really quick. I'm gonna have to adjust this one. Don't you just love how we like do this on the fly? We just kind of, hijack the okay, so imagine this is way bigger, okay? Because this needs to be quite a bit bigger to actually be a distaff. So basically what she does is she holds it, and the fiber is no longer under any tension. You're not having to hold your fiber supply particularly, because if you see my hands, they're able to hold the fiber a little bit more lightly. I just have to get going. Sorry, guys. So I'm no longer really holding my fiber supply because the fiber supply is actually being held by the distaff. So my backhand is actually just guiding the pullback, and my front fingers are pinching, and then my backhand is just gently drawing back. And this is what I find personally is that the fiber becomes, the yarn is much lighter and loftier, and I find that my yarns are more consistent because I can spin for longer periods of time. Oh, neat. Saw a really cool distaff upcycled from an old coat rack, so it stood so nicely wherever you wanted it. That's really cool, Becca. Welcome, Becca, by the way. Just got back from our walk on Sunday. That's wonderful. Okay, so I could do this all day. So we could sit here for like the next hour and just do this. So I am going to stop. And if anybody has any questions, if you guys could just pop your questions into the chat and we'll run the intro credits. And we'll get on with the show. So that's sort of that's the plyback test there. Yeah. I guess I could leave this on to show you guys later if you have any more questions. Oh, I already pulled it off. Bummer. No, I don't think it matters if it's round or flat. Like, are you asking about the actual physical shape? Like whether or not the distaff itself is round or flat? I think the biggest thing is that you want to be able to load your fiber. I'm not an expert on distaffs by any stretch. Obviously, I would love to become one. But I think that I think that, playing around is probably the best thing to do. I know dowel works really well if you just sand it gently when you buy it from the store. If you get some dowel, just sand it really gently to make sure it's really nice and smooth. That's a great thing to use. I've seen people use PVC pipe online. Yeah, there's any number of things that you can do. Yeah, as long as it doesn't snag, it doesn't really matter what shape. Those square edges can hurt your hands. I think that's the biggest thing, probably, Becca. If you might agree, is the holding the fiber and holding it in your hand, because you're holding it like a pencil. You want to be able to hold it for a really super long time. So you don't want it to be too long. You don't want it to be too heavy. I really like spinning this way off my distaff, so it's kind of being held out from me like this. I've seen Kim hold it any number of ways. I've seen stuff online where people hold it lots of different ways. Yeah. All right. Oh, thanks, Jean. The sweater that I'm wearing is I talked about it actually on the wool stream. I'll move my hair. I've been wearing it a lot lately because it's very lightweight. It's fingering weight yarn, and I will link my project page in the chat for you, so you can click it and read about it later after the stream is done if you want, or you can pop over there now. It doesn't really matter. I knit this because I had seen another project knit by Isabel Kramer way back when Ravelry was still new in like 2005, 2000 and I want to say like 2004, 2005, and she had knit this really great sweater. I think I even linked it in my show notes, in my notes there. Yes. This is the sweater that actually inspired this sweater. And I basically wanted to knit it myself, and so this is Zauber ball, and then just gray opal sock yarn and sort of a heathered gray, and I used Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage yoke, seamless yoke sweater, her percentage system, and I knit it from the bottom up, and it knit really, really fast. I knit it on 3mm needles. I thought it was going to take forever, and I finished it in 2010. I started it in December of 2009. And to be honest with you, it is probably, other than my Acer cardigan, this is probably my most worn knit. And then I stopped wearing it for a few years because of breastfeeding and having the kids. It just didn't fit me properly, and now I'm wearing it again. So it's not short, but it's a bit longer than a cropped cardigan. It's like the perfect length. So, and I love that it's got the blue and the red and the gray, because you can pretty much put anything underneath and it'll look okay. So, all right, let's run the credits and we'll get into the show. Okay, so let's start off with our handspun sock thread. People have been posting a lot of socks recently. I'm not sure if it's like a quarantine sock time or people have been making a lot of socks. I'm not really sure. I think it's wonderful. So these actually were from Glenda, Mad Stasher 1. She lives on the island, so she's local to me, and I've gotten to know Glenda quite well over the last couple, better over the last couple of months because she's in our virtual spin group. And she says, this is my first pair of hand spun socks. The fiber is Southdown silk. It's an 84%, 16% blend from the Small Bird Workshop. I spun it in a traditional 3-ply, and it was so much fun spinning and knitting this project that I think I will have to make more. I think you definitely should, Glenda. It is just awesome. Her yarn is beautiful, and Small Bird Workshop is a local to me and Glenda dyer. She's in Nanaimo, British Columbia. I ordered some of her CVM because she was supposed to be at Fibers West, and then of course she wasn't, so I ordered online, and she sent the fiber in vacuum packs. It was brilliant. So the envelope was all vacuum sealed, and I received it a while ago. I haven't started spinning it yet, but I had reached out to her and said how much I loved her fiber and her Southdown silk, if she gets it back in stock and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we messaged back and forth a little bit. She's lovely, and it was a pleasure to be able to support a local fiber artist. And then this other one is Our Freckled Life. It is from Arusali. She shares a recent loop bump that she spun, and she's already cast it on. And we were chatting on Friday in the wool stream about the Stonecrop, whether to bobble or not to bobble. And it sort of started this whole conversation around lots of different things it was very funny. Eve is probably laughing out loud right now. Anyways, this yarn is beautiful. This loop bump is absolutely gorgeous. It's a gradient, and the cowl that she cast on is the Mistake Rib Cowl by Pearl Soho. But her no bobble Stonecrop, I've linked it in the show notes. It's beautiful, and it's a really, really nice example of a Stonecrop that doesn't have bobbles. And what she did in place of the bobbles instead is she inserted a couple of, or maybe one or two, I'm not sure exactly, I didn't look super closely, because my Stonecrop has bobbles. She put in one or two pearl stitches of the contrast color. So really, really nice version. So I linked it in under this heading handspun sock thread in our community participation in the show notes. So if you're interested in that, have a look. I think Glenda, was it you or I think it was you, Glenda, that was thinking about maybe doing no bobbles. I can't remember. Yes, your inner 12-year-old is coming out to play, Eve. Yes. Yes, but this is the public live stream, so we can't go there. Socka Spinamania. Yeah, that's totally what we should call it, Megan. It's been, oh my goodness, the sock spinning has been, the sock madness. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been very cool to see all the sock projects recently. And that actually started before all the COVID stuff. Like I noticed that there was an uptick in the Ravelry group of socks before all of this sheltering in place even started. So yeah, I am going to skip around a little bit in the show notes now and go sort of down to the bottom of the show notes. So they're a little bit out of order from what I had planned, because I wanted to talk really quickly about my Cheviot and some of this other stuff that I have laying here. So I think I had mentioned either in the wool stream or on the podcast that I was sort of having some trouble figuring out how to organize some of my samples, and that I had a half binder that I sort of thought that maybe it would work. So I put my stuff in here. It's not perfect, but it is a good solution for now, because I have a big binder with all of my Spinner's Control cards that have like my index cards, and then this has sort of become an opportunity for all of these cards that I've been making for all of the content creation, you know, whether it be the Sweet Georgia workshops or the stuff here at Wool and Spinning for the monthly content that's available through Patreon. So I sort of have started to organize all of this, and so far I think it's been pretty successful. It's more just keeping it organized, because I don't want to have everything just in plastic bags forever. And so this is all the stuff for the Simple Something. These are all the samples of yarns from the Simple Something, all the different colorways. So anyhow, it's just another idea of how to organize all of our stuff and some of the ideas that might work and some of the stuff that maybe doesn't work. So I had actually been working on my Friesian. So this is my sample card for my Friesian. There's part of it here, and then the other part of it is here. So this sort of up close is what I've been doing. Traditional 2-ply, drum carded with 2 passes. These samples were spun on my Majorcraft, but I'm actually going to go back to spinning on my Lendrum at 17:1 because the Majorcraft was actually just a little bit too fast. And when I adjusted the speed on my Majorcraft, it just kind of didn't work. So I'm actually going to go back to my Lendrum and go to just a slower ratio. So let me just move this out of the way. So this was my original sample, my 2-ply. This is for the Shore cardigan by Carrie Bosstick Hogue. So this sample goes from 5 millimeters, 4.5 millimeters, and then 4 millimeter needles. So US 6, 7, and 8. Is that right, you guys? And yeah, the sweater, given the results of this, I'm pretty sure that the sweater will be knit on 4 or 4.5 millimeter needles. I knew the skein was here somewhere. So these are the Friesian skein, Batts that me and James have been doing. So this is the first skein of the sweater spin that I pulled off this week. And honestly, in the washing and finishing process, so I soaked it in warm water with some eucalyptus because this fleece is very clean. My friend Kelsey did an amazing job. I soaked it. This was when it came off of my wheel and I wound the skein. It was 220 yards. I don't think it's 220 yards anymore. I probably lost 40% of the skein in length. I don't have, I could actually measure it. If you guys are willing to wait just 2 seconds, I could actually measure the length because my skein winder is a 2-yard skein winder that my dad made me. And so 2 yards is 72 inches. And when this dried, I couldn't believe how much it shrunk. So now this skein is, yeah. So it was 36 inches long and now it's 30 inches long. So I lost 12 inches. Which is half a yard. Does somebody want to do that math for me? So it was 110 wraps on the skein winder times 60 inches. That's how many yards I have. If you can convert that from inches to yards. Can somebody do that math? However, I love the yarn. Both times that I've taken the yarn off of the wheel and onto the skein winder, I haven't liked it. I didn't like this. I didn't like this. And then when you wash and finish it, the yarn just blooms and it fills in all the spaces and it just ends up like, I don't know, it just totally transforms. And once again, this yarn is just incredible. That's really what the color is like. It's a little bit grayed out on the webcam because it's blowing out from the window. I'm glad I didn't turn my lights on. But that's the yarn. That's really truly what the yarn looks like there. 2-ply, quite a nice twist angle, about 40 degrees. And yeah, 183 yards. Thank you, Eve and Kelly. So this went from 220 yards to 183 yards. So how much is that in terms of loss? In terms of like percentage loss? I'm really asking a lot of you guys today. So I'm going to keep spinning, just keep spinning, and I'll keep coming up with the yardage that I need for the Shore cardigan. And this is kind of like my summer spinning project. I've been working on it outside, and I've been really enjoying it. And then I also resurrected another spin that I had kind of put on the back burner. And this is my Shetland spin from Disdero Ranch, this sort of gray-brown Shetland. And I pulled off a 3-ply. I haven't washed it because I had also made a 2-ply with this fiber. It's a pin drafted fiber. And it's from Disdero Ranch, which is a no-kill farm up in Tappan, British Columbia. She was located in Barrier, but she's actually moved. So I've been taking the pin drafted roving and just attenuating it a little bit. And the finished yarn, I've been going for about 14 wraps per inch for the finished yarn. So I've been spinning the singles sort of around 28 wraps per inch. And I wanted to do a fairly good size 3-ply so that I could knit some samples with it. So this is what's left on my 2 bobbins. And I'm just going to keep spinning singles because regardless of whether I spin a 2-ply or a 3-ply, it doesn't matter. The singles are all going to be the same. And they're sort of semi-woolen because I've been doing a short backward draw, but instead of smoothing, I'm just jumping back. So I'm letting pinch, draw back, let go, pinch, draw back, let go. So that you sort of end up with this really airy yarn. And so that's the 2-ply that I had spun probably about a year ago. And then this is the 3-ply. So I'm going to wash this. Yikes. Sorry. I'm going to wash this, get it, it's super hot today. So I'm going to wash it and put it outside, hang it to dry. And then I will knit with it and see what I end up with. I'll knit this up on, again, I'll do a sample of 4, 4.5, and 5mm needles and see what I think. And I had found this in my stash. It's on the round BFL, very finely spun 2-ply. And it was, I've been kind of coveting it in my stash for a long, long time. And I was actually thinking about putting it back through the wheel, tightening up the twist, and I think I'm going to cable ply it because there's over 400 or 500 yards or something here. It's just a ridiculous amount of yardage. And I thought if I do, hang on. If I do that and cable it, sorry that's so little, it would just be really, really, really pretty. And it would create a really lovely yarn. It would give it a little bit more structure. And this BFL was so lovely to spin that it would be really nice to use it in something. So I was actually thinking we're doing a little spackle, spin along, knit along in the virtual spin group. And I'm thinking I might actually use these two together because Dorothy, who's in the chat today, said that it would just be an awesome, like when I showed them the possible combination, Dorothy immediately was like, oh, and you know, when you get that response, you're like, okay, I'm on to something. It doesn't mean I have to do it, but I'm on to something. I'm going to see this through. So that is my Shetland, and I'm just going to keep working on this. I've got just an enormous amount. Mary and Kelly are getting some of this fiber for giveaways that we did in February and March. I just have a huge amount, and the idea was from Lori of Disdero to sort of pay it forward, play with it myself, and it's really the fiber that just keeps on giving. It's like the never-ending pile. So my Cheviot. So this, I knit my sample, my swatch for my Gentle Morning cardigan. And thank you again to Hannah for gifting me the pattern. It was so thoughtful. So I knit this. This is on 4mm needles. The fabric is just amazing. I'm so happy with the fabric. I think I waxed poetic about this last weekend. So I dropped off the yarn. I left it at Katrina's door in a plastic bag, and I dropped it off and she dyed it for me. So this is one of my most favorite colorways that Katrina does, Crafty Jaks. This is her Silver Mist colorway. She was so, so kind to dye it for me. So I have 5 skeins of this. I've got about 1,100 yards of yarn. And it's sort of this very, very gentle, very light gray color, a little bit tonal. And actually, you really can't see that it's really dyed, which is what I wanted. I wanted something light that would go with everything. I wanted to be able to wear it with everything. and I didn't want it dark. I wanted it a little bit lighter in color. Really, the only time you can actually see that it's dyed is when you see it against the original color. And I do actually have, I kept 2 samples of the fiber before it was dyed. So there's the 2-ply sample that I showed you guys there, and there's the 3-ply sample. So next to that, you can really see the difference. And so if you're wondering what the Silver Mist colorway looks like, not on the live stream, you can have a look at Katrina's store, craftyjaks.ca, and just look under her hand-dyed yarns and choose one, and then go to the Silver Mist. Just click on the colorway Silver Mist, and a knitted swatch will come up. It's just beautiful. Yeah, so that's what I was hoping for, Megan. So she said I was going to say it looks like the Gentle Morning colorway. The colorway that Trin used in the Gentle Morning sweater is, I tried to pick something that was close. This is a little bit cooler. The one that she used was called Oatmeal, so it would have been like a little bit warmer. So instead of having yellow brown as the base, this one is more like a blue gray. So, but yeah, that's what I was going for. I wanted something really light, something that would look nice with everything, that I could wear anything underneath, any shirt, and also preserve the natural nature of the yarn itself, of the fiber. So I'm so happy with it. Katrina knocked it out of the park as usual. So that is that project. So I'm hoping to cast that on this week. So maybe I'll have some sweater knitting progress for you this week, because I finished, I'm so excited about this. I finished a sleeve on my Stonecrop. This sweater is so intense. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. It is very intense. Sometimes when you have knitting projects, you feel like you're really knitting every stitch. This is one of those projects. This is also probably one of my favorite things that I've ever made, although it's not done yet. So this is the body, and I put the body stitches on hold so that I could do the sleeves, and because I don't want to run out of yarn, but I also could get another, Katrina does petites of her commercial yarns, so I could get another skein, either a petite or a full skein of the Deep Jungle. And this is my hand spun Fractured Dawn, one of her colorways. This is the Targi bamboo silk base, and I spun it as a traditional 3-ply. I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, this yarn. I spun it on my Ashford eSpinner, and I made it very, very high twist. So I ran the eSpinner at about 2 o'clock, which is the speed on the eSpinner. You can see there's all these different dials and knobs here, and this middle one is your speed. And most people, when they're using an eSpinner, they sort of make a note of the o'clock, if you will. So I spun most of this yarn and plied it at 2 or 3 o'clock. So there's a lot of twist going into the singles. And so it's my contrast color. And I got through the reknitting of the bobbles because I got down to here and I realized that I had made a huge mistake up here in the bobbles, and I had to rip all the way back. And then when I ran out of the first skein, so these skeins are 400 yards? Is that right, you guys? I'll have the ball band. 425 yards, something like that. Oh, going back to the Friesian for a minute. So this skein, thank you so much, you guys. I lost 16%. So between 15 and 17%, I lost 16% in the washing process. So that's how much yardage I lost from the down finishing and just fulling and that 3-dimensional crimp just going. So, because remember, when you're spinning, you're attenuating the fiber and you're smoothing it out and you're stretching it. And then when you go to wash it, of course, it hits the water and goes for its swim, and it just goes, and all that active twist and crimp and stuff comes back, and the downs can be, well, they're notorious for losing yardage when you go to wash them, because they just, sproing right up. Polworth, Targhee, Merino, you often notice it with the fine wools as well. So 16% loss. So from here to here is one skein of yarn. So it's a lot of knitting. It was the whole yoke plus half of a repeat of the chart. So I ended up, because I set my row gauge is different from the pattern, so I had to separate my sleeves sooner, and then I worked my sleeves. So this is the first sleeve, tubular cast off for the cuff. It just makes a beautiful finished edge. And this sleeve used 25%. No, that's not right. 115. Hang on, that's not right. The sleeve used no, that's not right. The skeins are 115 grams each, and I ended up I weighed the ball after I finished the sleeve, and I had 75 grams of fiber left. So 115 minus 75 is 40 grams. So the sweater, the sleeve used 40 grams of fiber, or sorry, of yarn. So it used 35%, 34.8% of the skein. So this will use another 35% to do the other sleeve. And then and that'll leave me with just over 30%. Sorry, just under 30% of yarn left. So I might need to get another skein to make this the sweater as long as I want it to be. But this is very, very, very stretchy. The Targhee is very stretchy. Tough and Tender is a 100% Targhee nylon yarn. And I had tried this on the other day just to make sure that it fit and just to make sure that I liked the ease. Because, you're putting this much time and energy and effort into a sweater like this. And actually, I'll step off camera for just a second. I'll put it on. And then you guys can see what it actually looks like on. Oh, let me change my cameras. So this is the sweater on. It's definitely not tight. It's got a lot of bounce and sproing and stretch. This is the back of it. So sleeves, and the sleeves are gonna stretch. Like I can already feel, because I knit the sleeves 18.5 inches long. And from my thumb to my underarm is 19 inches. And but because of the stretch factor of this yarn and just the sort of the bouncy nature of it, let me move my hair. My hair is getting so long. I have to get a haircut, but obviously that's not possible right now. And I'm also my hair is actually long enough now that I can donate it again. So I grow my hair, donate it, grow my hair, donate it. And I'm able to do that now. So I would like to. So I've started to weave in the ends as well, because that's going to be a big job at the end as well. So I wove in a whole bunch of my ends, and I'm really, at first I was looking at it and I was like, all this stretch and all of this, like, it's going to be so big. And she even says in the pattern, like, if you're between sizes, go down a size. She says that in the shifty as well. If you're between sizes, go down. Because the color work just naturally is usually a bit looser, because you're carrying floats and you're usually knitting with both fingers, or you're sort of doing something where you're carrying the yarn. And so in this case, very much my gauge is a little bit looser than it, like I'm already a loose knitter, but this is even more so. So I'm glad that I knit the smaller size, but also divided when I knew that I needed to, because otherwise I would have been dividing down here and it would have been more like a capelet, which is fine. It's just not what I wanted. So I'm glad that I was paying attention to the measurement from here to here of what the yoke depth was, because once this is washed and finished and worn a little bit, it's gonna be just perfect. And I'll probably wear it with the sleeves kind of up a bit, so sort of like pulled up. So because that's why I didn't want to make them really super long, because I will pull them up all the time, because otherwise they're getting in everything, you know. And so with the lovely tubular cast off and being so stretchy, but also holding its shape, and it's a tubular cast on as well, so you get this beautiful tubular cast on at the top as well. It just really adds to the sort of professional look of the sweater, I think. And you're going to all this effort, like seriously, do some of those finishing things to make it just really shine. Oh, thank you, Crystal. She says, oh, how pretty. Looks good, says Eve. Beautiful. Thank you, you guys. The fit is perfect. Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, you never know with a yoked top-down sweater. Like, you have to really try them on, and you got to put them on needles like this. So I'm using my Chow Goose for this, and I put, oh, I don't think you'll be able to see. I put the loop, the extender on, to be able to put it on and take it off and stuff while I was doing the sleeves. Like you have to use those. I've got my Addy clicks on this one back here that's commercial yarn, and I've got the extender on it right now too, because I wanted to try it on my dress form and see how the fit was. So use your extenders with your cables. And if you don't have enough cables and you've got interchangeable sets, get more cables. They are worth the investment so that you can try stuff on and see how it fits. It minimizes ripping back and it minimizes mistakes. And if you really want garments to fit really well, that's a great thing to do, is to try them on. I'm always nervous that that's not quite this. Oh, yeah, so Meg says my favorite task, my favorite trick ever is to knit your ends in as you carry your floats as you go. It saves hours. I'm knitting the Marie Walling right now with 12 colors, and weaving in ends would be a nightmare. Absolutely, that's a great trick. I actually have had to weave in all the ends of the green yarn, so I'm not carrying the green yarn. It's like where the underarm is, like weaving in all those ends to make it look really nice. But yeah, the contrast yarn, I've been just carrying it and weaving it in as I go. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't know if there were any questions about the sweater specifically. I'm a sweater knitting machine. Thank you, Becca. It's what I love to do. Like, honestly, this is my favorite type of knitting. And I feel really inspired right now by everything that other people are making and you guys are doing in the group. And I love using my hand spun. And it's funny because some of these patterns recently, I've actually kind of felt inspired to maybe write down some of my ideas and, you know, what that would maybe look like. So I don't know if I really want to get into pattern grading and whatnot, but it is something to think about. That's for sure. Okay, let me put this off to the side and then we'll talk about my eSpinner. Yeah, I was trying to figure out this morning when I was getting ready to podcast. I was like, I wonder what I can wear that I can put the Stonecrop over top really easily. Because with a sweater like that, you definitely don't want anything really bulky underneath. Because A, it's just going to be way too warm. Because when you're carrying all those floats on the back of all that color work, like, it gets really warm. The sweater itself. So I shared this yarn on the wool stream the other day. And this is my Gotland Romney Fleece. So this is the Gotland Romney that was originally supposed to be the Gentle Morning, and my hand just will not allow me to purl particularly pearl, with this yarn for any length of time. And I was really hoping that before the show today I would be able to re-dye one of these skeins, but I didn't get to it. So this third one is this gorgeous dusty rosy pink, and this was I divided them up into 3 batches. So these are 200 yards, these two here, and this one is 150 yards of yarn. And I dyed them with Kibraka, and then I added a little bit of cochineal over top, and I used the recipe out of the Modern Natural Dyer book. It's a really beautifully photographed book. And then this one came out really quite lovely. The cochineal just totally took over, but it kind of created this really fun, rosy, sort of dusty rose, antique pink. I think the camera's picking it up as being sort of more purpley, but it's actually like pink. Anyways, and then the idea was to sort of throw the first skein in, wait 20 minutes, throw the second skein in, and then wait 20 minutes and throw the third skein in. So this one worked out perfectly. This one worked out perfectly. But this one kind of ended up not really being my medium. I was hoping that it would be my medium. So when I was chatting on the wool stream on Friday, my thought was that I would throw this one back into the dye bath. But I'm actually thinking now that I will throw this one back in the dye bath and try to make a medium. Because I really love this third one. I really love how it turned out. You can see it a little bit better here. It's not quite as washed out as the webcam is showing. And this is a real antique dusty rose. And it's light and it's really, really, really pretty. It's got a little bit of tonality to it. Whereas the middle one is just a little bit like it was the final skein that came out of the dye bath. It was a little bit like it was quite exhausted by then. This skein got most of it. So I'm actually thinking I might throw this one back in with just a teeny tiny bit of cochineal and just make it a bit more robust in color and see if I can attain that medium that I was looking for. So that's kind of my thoughts, my plan. Or I'll divide this in half and I'll leave half as is and do the other half as a medium. I could do that as well. I don't know. They're showing up on the webcam as being really super different, but they're actually not. These two are very, very, very similar. And I'm going to do the Odyssey shawl by Joji Locatelli. So, oh, awesome, Kelly. She's got that book for her birthday. Is catching up with chat. Normally catch my Fair Isle floats every 4 to 5 stitches, and when I'm floating an end, I'll catch it every 2 to 3 stitches for about 1 inch. Oh, that's cool, Megan. Okay, so that's how you kind of do it. Really cool. So this is going to be the Odyssey shawl by Joji Locatelli. I think this yarn is going to have to go on the back burner for a little bit while I finish up the content for the yarn substitution and get the Gentle Morning knit. So, but I am really looking forward to casting this on in the summer. I always really enjoy knitting shawls in the summer, and this is definitely going to be the shawl that I make. So that is really exciting. Okay, so my eSpinner has been busy. I have been working on my combo spin, and I have been just working on it very quietly and very slowly, and I've been really enjoying the quiet, thoughtful project. I've been using my battery pack. I've been taking it outside. The other day, it got down to 3 green dots, and just like somebody had said in the chat, sure enough, it died. Like the motor was like there's just not enough power. But I spun on it for a good 4 or 5 hours in total. And I think you probably can get more off of the eSpinner if you're spinning all at once rather than leaving it to sit and leaving it to sort of not actually be used. And you're turning it off and on and off and on, because I'm sure there's a certain amount of juice. I'm just guessing. But I'm sure there's a certain amount of juice that you need to get it going, and then of course when you turn it off. So I've just been really enjoying this, and I've been sitting outside working on it, And I added that third braid, and so I've worked that in. You can see the blue there, and I'll just change my position. And this has been a real lifesaver in terms of just something slow, a little bit mindless, very gentle spinning. It's been quite hot here, although the weather is supposed to change again on Monday. And this is just what I've been doing. I've just been sitting and spinning up all this Falkland. So I have 3 braids, and I've made all these little nests. And I didn't know if anybody had any specific questions about e-spinning or about the e-spinner itself, because I've been chatting about the projects that I've been making on the e-spinner and about the yarns and whatnot. And we've talked about just the convenience of it, and I've been waxing poetic about the battery pack, because that was a game changer, honest to goodness. If you get an e-spinner, get a battery pack. It was a game changer. And I've had several people actually message me and say like what a game changer it was for them as well. I've found that playing around with the brake, that I've sort of found like that happy spot. The spring, because when you get any wheel new and you've got a spring, it takes some time for that to sort of break in, if you will. Like it takes some time for the spring to sort of loosen up a little bit and to sort of, you know, get that bounce and sproing to it. And I think I've kind of found that happy place now, because I spun those 3 braids of the Targi, so the Fractured Dawn, the Pasuta, and the Arctic Berries, and now I've got the Falkland going. So, and I did the that spin that was the silk from West Coast Color. It was that luxury spin that I did very selfishly back in February. So sort of four 4-ounce braids of fiber have gone through this, and now this. And I feel like it took that long for the spring to kind of break in, if you will. Because there's 2 springs. If you look at the back of the wheel there on the webcam, there's the spring underneath the one side of the bobbin, but there's also a spring on the other side. So it sort of took that much spinning to get those springs to sort of loosen and stretch a little bit and respond in the way that I wanted them to. What do you find has changed? As I remember, you had an e-spinner before but sold it. Yeah, so I think it's the portability. That was really what I wanted. I had the Hanson, and I sold it. And then I had the Ashford e-spinner, and I sold it to somebody in our guild who really needed something. I prefer treadling, like spinning on a wheel where I'm treadling, especially because I'm teaching so much and I'm creating content that I have to be able to say, like, okay, on a ratio, blah, 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 I had this for my plyback test, and this is my wraps per inch, this is my twist per inch, or not so much wraps per inch, but this is my twist per inch that I got with this ratio. And your feet compensate for a lot of what your hands are doing. Your feet are speeding up and slowing down and adjusting for what's happening with your hands as you're spinning at your wheel. And so with an e-spinner, it's pulling and twisting no matter what your hands are doing. So you need to be very consistent about what you're doing. However, that said, because I can sit outside and spin while the kids are playing and work on projects and not worry about dragging around a big treadle wheel, and I can also get a lot more done on an e-spinner because I can ramp up the speed and I can move my hands quite a bit faster. I'm not doing that with this spin, but I definitely have done that with other spins. That really makes a big difference in terms of the production and how much yarn I can make. And if I've got let's say I had a really big deadline and I really needed to get a huge amount of yarn made in a very, very short period of time, I would put it on the e-spinner and I would crank up the speed and I would just sit there and spin like this, and just go really, really super fast. And that consistency of being able to spin like that, where the spinner is spinning very consistently and your hands are moving very consistently, really makes great yarn. So if your goal is pure production and really, really consistent yarn, you know, eSpinners are great training ground for that, if that makes sense. I have the same battery pack for my electric eel, but my phone is currently plugged into it because I can't find the brick to plug into the wall. Oh, that's too bad, Suzanne. Bummer. I feel like I start and stop so much with my wheel that I'm not sure how I'll do with an eSpinner. Yeah, so I think, Jean, in terms of if an eSpinner is something that you want eventually, you know, any tips for making the transition between a wheel and an eSpinner in terms of twist and starting and stopping? A lot of it is practice. The first few skeins of yarn that you pull off of your eSpinner, don't expect them to look like the yarns that you pull off of your wheel. I think a lot of those expectations that we have is just because we can spin, that we will pull off the same yarns off of all of these different tools. And the reality is we make different yarns on different tools. You know, my spindle spun yarns are different from my wheel spun yarns, are different from my e-spun yarns. And my e-spun yarns do tend to be very, very consistent, but they do tend to be quite a bit higher twist. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. And you do need to be, like, you have to remember it's a machine in the sense that it's not a simple machine anymore like our wheels are. Or a spindle. I mean, a spindle is truly a true simple machine. But with the e-spinner, like, it's going to twist and turn no matter what. So regardless of what your fingers are doing and regardless of what your hands are doing, it's going to continue to put that twist in and keep adding that twist, even if you're dealing with a nep or a nep, or you have to, you know, connect fiber together, you know, add on fiber. That's where the Distaff is really nice, because you can just keep spinning your preloaded fiber that's loaded onto your Distaff. You can just keep on spinning and you don't have to start or stop the e-spinner when you want to go and connect or join your next batch of yarns or fiber, the next nest. Whereas, like, just now I had to add the next nest, so there's a lot more twist that was building up in the singles as I was doing that. And then I have to move my hands a bit faster for a short period of time just to compensate for that added twist, because I can feel it building up in front of my forefinger and my thumb as I spin. And then you can kind of get it to dissipate by moving a little bit faster, and then you kind of go back into your rhythm that you had before. Does that make sense? How do you approach making a consistently spun yarn when you can't count treadles on an e-spinner? It's your consistency, I have found. It's my consistency. So when I set the speed and I do my sampling, if I set that speed as, you know, like this yarn I'm spinning at about 1 o'clock on the speed dial, and it's going in the Z direction, so it's going clockwise. Because I sort of, you know what my default is and how I spin, and I know kind of how fast my hands move just in general. I know that if I continue to spin at this speed, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 and in, that I'm going to get sort of a medium twist yarn, medium twist singles, and then I can decide if I want to ply more tightly, which I will. But that's experience and sampling. Yeah. Oh, bye, Lisa. Good to see you. I like my e-spinner. She has a Hanson. This is Shelly, because the wind down. So the Ashford has the wind down as well. It's just not as long as the Hanson. I think that's the only change that I would make to the Ashford, is to make the wind down and the speed up when you first turn it on longer. It's just not quite long enough because it flings back. And I'll show you guys that in a sec, because I'm going to have to join more fiber. But you can see how, you know, I'm drafting back 4 times, wind on, and wind on. Actually, I think I'm doing it 5. Yeah. but like I would have to sit here for hours and hours and hours and spin through all of this doing that exact movement. So like from an ergonomic point of view, I really like that I can move around. When I'm spinning on my eSpinner, I actually stand a lot. I put it at the counter and I stand. And part of the reason for that is that as a society, particularly in the Western world, we're sitting too much. And the opposite of sedentary is not exercise, it is activity and movement. And one of the things that we can increase our movement and our activity by is by just standing more. So I have sort of taken that to heart, and I will often put the eSpinner on the counter in the kitchen, or I've tried not to be in the kitchen right now. It's the kids, oh my goodness, they're eating us out of house and home. Just that access to food all the time is just driving me batty. But I've been putting it on the counter and I've been spinning standing up. And actually the other thing I've been doing is putting it on the floor. We have a rug in our family room, and I've been putting it on the floor, and I've been sitting on the floor and spinning while we've been watching a movie. And that's actually been really nice because the eSpinner on the rug is really quiet. The foot pedal is a lifesaver, absolutely. Oh, for a Degalis, very cool. So I'm gonna use the wait time to practice consistency. Well done, Jean. Feeling the twist energy in my pinching hand was a light bulb moment for me when I was learning how to spin. Yeah, Zan, it's amazing, those little things that you start to become more tuned into. So it's funny because the two braids, so the Three Waters Farm and then the other unlabeled braid of fiber that I found that was also, that I know is Falkland, I just don't know, it was unlabeled, I don't know who dyed it. Those two are beautifully dyed and beautifully prepped, but this third one is a little bit compacted, and I have pre-drafted all of this one, but every time I come up to it, I can feel my fingers change ever so slightly to compensate for that slightly fulled fiber. So I just felt it because I just switched nests of fiber, and sure enough. So if you guys don't have, one more question. Could you put a little piece of carpet on your eSpinner stand? Yeah, I was wondering that actually, Megan, because I think it would just quieten it down and it wouldn't affect the motor because the motor is at the back. Because I had thought about overheating, but it's on feet. So I had thought about that, Megan, because I actually thought that maybe, it would just make it a little bit quieter. Because on the cart, it does rattle once in a while when I'm going really fast, when I've got the speed really turned up. Hi, Trin. Hi from Denmark. Good to see you. Yeah, so if you guys don't have any more questions, I think we'll probably say goodbye. We talked about all the things today. So I hope that you enjoyed the show. I'll show you how I turn it down. So I turn down the speed, and then I turn off the eSpinner, and that prevents the fling. That fling back that I was talking about, where it just goes flying back the other way, and it causes everything to kind of get all... It sort of just causes problems. So you guys can imagine. So, yeah. Thanks for coming along on that journey with me. All right, I'm just going to look one last time at the show notes and make sure that we didn't forget anything. I was going to say this spin. So all of the fiber is prepped in here, and I've got the other half of the 3 braids behind me actually. I made all these little nests, and then I put them on the kitchen counter, and I mixed them all up, and then I threw them in my bag. This is my Fox's bag that my friend Katrina made for me for Christmas. It's so thoughtful. And then I've just been grabbing out fiber, just grabbing randomly from the bag. So it's just like a true combo spin. And I actually have been doing this for the hashtag Groom Your Stash with Sasha of Sheep Spot. And I wasn't really able to participate in a big way, but I did want to do something. So that's what this was for. And because it's 3 full skeins it will be 3 full braids of fiber to make the skeins, I'm actually thinking that I might use this as background for a shifty pullover. I sort of have some ideas. I also was thinking about maybe using it as background for a night shift shawl, like the big shawl. I thought maybe that would work really well because either for the shifty or for the night shift shawl, this skein, if it was background, it would be really, really pretty. And it's quite sort of a semi-solid. All of these colors are sort of blues and light red, sort of, you know, cranberry, dusty reds. I put a photo of 2 of the braids out of the 3 in the show notes. So there's actually a physical photo, well, not physical, a digital photo of the 2 braids. And I did take a photo of the 3rd braid, this one, that I'll add to my Ravelry project page. Unfortunately, I don't have the 3 photographed together, but the 3rd braid, you can see why it works so well. So, yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for such a wonderful stream. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Heading out to watch the snowbirds fly over. Small things are needed this week. Absolutely, Judy. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who watched and who were able to be here today. I was going to talk about the commercial sweater behind me. It's the City Limits by Tanis Laval of Tanis Fibre Arts. I got to meet her at Knit City this past year. She's lovely. She's from Ontario. And I'll just pull it closer so you can see it really quickly. I grabbed a whole bunch of my sock yarn from my stash that I just wanted to knit up, and I'm just blending it all down. So it's 10 rows of each. So this is Sweet Georgia, this is Malabrigo, and now I'm into some sweet fiber. And this is like a mindless knit. I've been working on it in the evening when I'm too tired to work on the Stonecrop anymore. And I just separated for the sleeves this morning when I was doing my gratitude practice, and I've worked all of the back short rows, and this is the reverse stockinette. So this is a reversible sweater, same as the Simple Something. It's very similar. I don't know why I'm on this pullover kick right now. I have no idea. I've never knit pullovers in my life, so I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, doesn't matter. It's fun. And so I just separated for my sleeves. Because it's stockinette, of course, they're wanting to curl in on themselves. And I've just been mindlessly working on this. I don't know if the blending is going to work out that well or if the yarns that I chose are really that great, but it'll be a great camping sweater and if I don't love it. And it does give me something to throw on when it's a bit cool and I need something. So hopefully it'll work out. Hopefully the colors will be okay. To be honest with you, I don't really care. It's an opportunity to showcase the yarns. So that is what's in the background, because I'm sure somebody will ask and I forgot to talk about it. So yeah, this was one of my maternity tank tops from when I was pregnant with the kids. So it's like 22 inches long. It's like super, super, super long. So I thought, because it doesn't fit me anymore because it's so long, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put it on Diana because she likes to be covered. She likes her dignity intact. So anyhow, it's just fun. All right. Okay. I don't think anybody has any other questions. I'm just making sure. So have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, you guys. And I will chat with you next week. Bye, everyone.